let me say thanks to Turbulence and Sasha for giving us that one. We've got that love others are searching for, and I was thinking of playing some nice R&B lovey-dovey thing, and I'm like, no, let me play some reggae because I know that my guests, the couple of times they've been to Jamaica,
Yeah, man.
he know the music, he knows the culture. I love say yeah man, so me I tell him from no. If you hear him say yeah man, it's because he's actually connecting with the island.
Right.
Good evening, and to those of you, my viewers, and my guest this evening. Special good evening to you, my
Thank you.
boss, Sir Dennis. How are you doing?
Doing good. How you doing is the question, huh?
I'm good. I'm good, and I'm doing what I enjoy doing and what I love to do. And it's a pleasure to have you as my guest this evening.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine. I appreciate you bringing me on. Definitely a big fan of not only what you do, but
Hmm.
just your mentality and the way you bring it forth. So it's just a pleasure to be able to join you once again and just to connect with you on wonderful things.
I like that. So let me bring my viewers up to date. So I
Okay.
saw this morning. It's appears to be a tweet by LLKK. Somebody shared it, and I'm like, this sounds like what I normally talk about. So let me share it. So for those of you who haven't seen it, because I saw the conversation, and Lamir did chime in, and I'm like, perfect. Let me make you forget. So
Right.
yeah, that worked out. So this is what it says. Why aren't marriages lasting like our grandparents' generation with like three question signs? Open discussion. Talk to me. And several people chime in. When you saw that, Lamir, what stood out? Why you felt a little nudge to actually comment?
Well, it's funny you ask that because normally when I see different posting about different things, I don't normally chime in
I know
because
that.
some of the conversation is just what I call loose change. You know, it's not single
Mhm,
dollar bills, it's nothing of substance. But
mhm,
to your point, I did feel compelled to chime in.
mhm.
And I say this, and I'll kind of walk you through a scenario, if you will.
Go
So
ahead.
I look at life and I look at everything as if it's a universe. You know, this universe that we live in, you know, you may or not believe it's called, you know, the Milky Way is what they call it. And
Mhm.
inside the Milky Way, there's many different planets and there's worlds. And everything is revolving around the sun. And so the sun is like the center. So I liken the sun as your perspective. And based on your perspective, your world or your planet revolves around it.
Right.
So I said all that to say that based on your world, your connection, your circle of friends, the people you spend time with, who you hang out with, those things help to shape your perspective. And
Mhm,
everything revolves around it.
mhm.
So if you grew up in a home where both of your parents were married and stayed married for a long time, then that shapes your perspective on everything.
Right.
And consequently, if you grew up in a single parent home or there was some abuse or a neglect or idolatry, things of that nature, that all shapes your perspective. So to bring it up to speed,
Mhm,
my perspective is I've been married for over 15 years.
mhm,
And this is the first and only time I'm going to be married. And my only married brother has been married for about 15 years.
mhm.
My college roommate, his daughter and my daughter are best friends, and he's been married for about 15 years. All my homeboys, I'm not talking about people I've known from a distance or friends online, but like my actual
Mhm,
friends,
mhm,
they've all
mhm.
been married for 10, 12, 15 years. So that's just my perspective.
Right.
So,
Right.
as I sat back and I watched some of the comments, and as you notice, you know, some comments got more likes, got more love, and more thumbs
Yes.
up, and
Yes.
mine was just like crickets, you know, cricket, cricket, cricket.
Mhm,
I was
mhm,
the only
mhm,
one that felt the way I felt,
mhm,
but I think it's a cop out, and it's easy to say, oh well, you know, marriage is difficult, and
mhm,
and women want to be more independent, so they don't want to get married, or
mhm,
men are all dogs, and you know they are not faithful. It's a cop
mhm,
out
mhm,
because
mhm.
getting up and going to work every day is hard,
Right.
but people do it. Single mothers putting food on the table, paying all the bills,
Mhm,
and doing all the different things is difficult, is a challenge, but they
mhm.
do it. So
Right.
you can't say, oh, marriage is hard or it's difficult, so that's why I won't do it. There's a lot of things in life that's difficult, and we don't just stop doing them because they're difficult.
Right.
When you take two different mentalities, two different lives, two different perspectives. My wife's from New York, I'm from Columbus. You put them together, it's going to be a
Mhm,
challenge, it's going to be difficult, but that doesn't
mhm,
mean it can't work. I think too much TV shapes things. Like I said, that's our sun, and
Mm-hmm.
everything we do is revolved around TV or social media or other
Mm-hmm.
bad relationships. And ultimately, everything you're looking for in life, you'll find it. If you're
True.
looking for someone to join in with your negative thoughts, you'll find a whole bunch of people to say, yeah, yeah, you're
Mm-hmm.
right. If
You're
you have
right.
a positive perspective and you say, you know what, everything's going to be okay, then you'll tend to find a bunch of different people who
Right.
believe the same. So
Right.
that's kind of how I look at things in general.
And it's funny that you said that, Lamir, because like you say, I think goal no goals, when you see it.
Yeah,
And your comments, I don't want to bash anybody, and that's not my intention,
I
but
got you.
your comment was so profound. And I'm like, but this is what I believe.
Right.
So there's really somebody else that because especially on social media now, I did this experiment the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a video that was explaining that most people are programmed to
Right.
respond a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
And in Jamaica, this whole COVID thing happening, a news entity broke the news that the prime minister and all the health minister and all of them got tested and they were COVID negative.
Okay.
And I said, let me try this experiment. And I shared it on Facebook and I say, cover them, Lord. And I can tell you, almost 90% of persons who commented or share,
Mm-hmm.
they use cover in some form.
Mm.
So even if they did not say Lord, some covering thing, and I'm like, so what this person was saying is actually true because I intentionally
Mm-hmm.
I shared it and say cover them, Lord, and people just jump at the and using the covering thing. I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
it worked.
Yeah.
But I also noticed that it's a part of it. Like somebody will say something negative and people, as you say, thumbs up, like,
Yeah.
hearts, all of that thing, and go in it, and
Yeah.
it's just weird. But when it comes to marriage, and I'm going to read one of the very first comments
Mm-hmm.
on the page, and I'm not going to read anyone's name because, like I said, it's not my intention to embarrass anyone.
Right.
So this person was one of the first person that commented and say, probably they were suffering in silence because a lot of old timers have lots of sweethearts, and women probably were afraid to walk away because of the stigma attached to single mothers. So then they bear the heartache. Women nowadays, like myself, not doing that. As you slip, you slide. I had a conversation with that individual
Okay.
and asked what slip means. And the person starts saying, it's on my, I can go and watch it. The person starts saying, well, and some whole stuff. And I'm like, oh, and if the person is nagging, I'm like, that does not explain slipping.
Right.
And then she resorted to physical abuse, which I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. Because I'm not going to ask nobody. I wouldn't want my mother to stay in a physical abuse
Right.
relationship. No form of abuse.
Right.
Whether it's emotional or whatever. I wouldn't. But the person says slip. And every time I discuss this topic, because I've been doing this show now for 14 years, this very popular song that came out a couple of years ago, to the left, everything you own in the back to the. It's basically telling women, empowering women to say, listen, don't do marriage. Don't work it out. So if it slip, and I find people now, and let me talk to my own race, black women now seeing this as a strength to say, listen, I am not putting up with marriage. So if the person is not doing what I say, then they should go. Where have we gone wrong where this is concerned, Lamir?
Well, like I said, there's so many different perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
and to your point of the music, only people are. I'm going to assume because I don't make music, but I'm just
Mm-hmm.
assuming that if you put out a song, you put out something that you feel like people can relate to, or
Right.
people are going to gravitate to, or people are going to like.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is your perspective, if that's how everything flows in your circle, if you feel like you shouldn't have to deal with this and you don't have to put up with this, I can assure you that half the people in your Facebook friend list is going to say the exact same thing. They're going to give you thumbs up and they're going to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's a other part of the other side of the coin, if you will, where we as black people, especially in the United States, have been conditioned and trained to think a certain way.
Right.
One of the most powerful things, if not the most powerful thing in our world, is media. And that's whether it's television, that's whether it's print media, whether it's social media, and it's called a television. It gives you the vision. So
Yes.
it gives you the perspective, gives you the way to think. And when we get so much into it, it's easy to say, "Hey, look at all of these strong women making
Mm-hmm.
moves and doing this, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't, you don't need." And it's fine to be strong, and it's
Yes.
fine to be on your own and independent, and not necessarily need anyone to help you to do the things that you need. But that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you can't still be married. Doesn't mean you can't have a relationship. Doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
you can't connect with someone and to bond with someone just because you're so independent, you're so strong. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing for a man, same thing for a woman. And as I mentioned earlier, just based on my perspective, I think that a woman is necessary because even if you go back to the Bible, if you read the Bible, if you're into the Bible, as far as
Mm-hmm.
Scripture is concerned, God took a rib from Adam, so that
Mm-hmm.
there was something in the beginning stages of life that was taken from us that we just don't have. It's
Right.
something that women bring that men just don't pick up on, we don't get. Whether it's
Right.
just trampling over the flowers and the wife's just like, "You just stepped all over the flowers." And you're like, "Oh, there's flowers there? Oh, I'm so
Yep.
sorry." But when you've been married a few years, you'll be like, "Oh, look at these flowers. These are beautiful." Because you know what to bring on Valentine's Day. And you know what to
Mm-hmm.
bring on birthdays and anniversary. You go get them flowers. The
Right.
same flowers you wouldn't go get when you was a man. So
Mm-hmm.
there's one side of it again that I understand, the women with the go-getiveness, even men with the go-getiveness, but that
Yes.
doesn't mean you have to be so laser focused where you don't need nobody and can't
Mm-hmm.
nobody help you or bring compliments to what you're doing in your life.
There's something else that I've heard brothers complaining about because these are ongoing um topics where our sisters, black women, it seems as if once they become successful, then you start hearing the television talk to say, "I don't need a man."
Sure.
And I'm saying, well, so if women are saying they don't need a man, why is it now they're complaining to say men are dogs and they don't need no woman or don't need nobody?
Right.
Because you're pushing out this energy to say I don't need you, and then you have men, because I don't know much about America. I've just been living here for 4 years, but this is the norm in Jamaica. A man will be successful. And he will have like maybe even his wife at home and other baby mama or whatever. But he will pick up a young girl who just leave high school, can't make it to college, fund her all the way through college. And then after whenever she decided, okay, I don't need you anymore because I'm now successful. And I had this talk with somebody, I don't know if she'll be joining us by phone earlier this evening, but I was saying to her, why is it like that? Is it that education and independence now open women's eyes to say, okay, men are not needed? That's what you see in the other side, because I know that's not your reality,
Sure.
Lamir.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it to a degree. I don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, sign on with it. But my whole thing is this, is if you want to be independent and you are independent or wherever your journey is in independence, that doesn't mean you have to use your platform for bad. So in
Mm-hmm.
other words, if you're striving as that young lady, and I don't want to keep harping on the young lady, so it could be the
Mm-hmm.
man. So if
Right.
you're striving as a young man, that doesn't mean when you get to where you want to be, then you turn around and be like, "See, I don't need you. See,
Right.
I don't need no woman." That's
Mm-hmm.
that. Just be who you are and just be happy and just
Right.
enjoy it. You don't have to push out that or
Mm-hmm.
because that maybe that's what fueled you to get you where you are. But then
Mm-hmm.
when you get to a better place, be in a better place. It's very similar to, if you grew up in the hood and you strive your whole life long to get somewhere better, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to get somewhere better and turn around talking about the hood ain't no good. And I
Right.
can't believe the hood. That you understand the hood because you came from it.
From
So
it,
try
right.
to help that mentality. Try to fund different things in the hood, but don't turn around and bash the hood because the
Mm-hmm.
people in the hood know they in a bad shape. They know
You
they
know,
eat at the corner store and eat, drink Fago and eat chips. They know you don't have to keep saying you eat Fagos and chips and that's why I don't
right.
deal with you. They
Right.
understand it.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned that because I was tempted, and I say, you know what? I don't want to offend anyone, but I was tempted to ask some of these women if they're married or if they're in a failed relationship or what the case may be. And I saw even people with double barrel names, and I'm like, so what kind of, because normally again I'm forced to ask when I see women putting out there to say men are dogs and men are bad, I'm like, do you have sons? What is it that you're teaching them? Do you have brothers? Are your brothers dog?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
are you married? You're talking about your husband?
yeah.
I'm forced to think these kind of things.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I say, your perspective shapes everything. So I get that you've been hurt, but you don't have to pass that hurt off on everybody because, to
Hmm.
your point, there's sons. There's more than just that man that hurt you. There's more
Right.
than just that woman that hurt you. There's
Hmm.
somebody's sister, there's somebody's daughter, there's somebody's auntie, there's somebody's coworker, somebody's boss, someone's friend. So you don't want to use a platform, however large, to try to shape someone else's opinion. If you
Hmm.
and I disagree on something, then that's you and I disagreeing. I don't have to try to make a post to say, and look at this, and here's what he said to make everybody
Hmm.
I know feel a certain way towards you.
About that person.
Yeah, give them the opportunity to learn who you are for
Hmm.
how you connect with them. Because your
Hmm.
your relationship with me may be different than your relationship with my younger brother. And I don't want to say, well, yeah, every time me and him get together, we talk photography. Because my little brother doesn't talk photography. And I don't want to
Hmm.
force him to feel like he's got to be like, well, do you shutter speed?
Hmm.
ISO? You'd be like, dude, you don't know anything about this.
Exposure.
This sounds really generic. Like, your
Right.
relationship's not me and Lemire's. Let's form our own.
Right.
So, I get it, but I just think it's very unfortunate that anybody would enter into any type of relationship and try to spew all of their negatives on the world and not let them pick up their own opinion.
Hi. So let me take time out again. I see people just chiming in. Welcome to the show. It is Lifestyle, and we're live. And with me this evening is Lamir Dennis.
Wagwan.
He's a well, God, he's a photographer. He lives here in Columbus. Great individual. Like we met is weird. I ain't even bother go through that right now, but
Right, right.
that's been a connection. So for those of you just joining, welcome to the show. It is Lifestyle. We do this Monday through to Thursday from 9 until 10. By the way, the shirts are out, guys. I'm wearing for the very first time my own branded logo shirt.
Nice.
And I post it, and this is a funny story, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, I've been saying this for years. I've been doing this show for 14 years since I was in Jamaica. Now for 4 online strictly. And I'm like, why am I advertising other brands every night I come on my show?
Right.
And that keep on beating me. It's like, no, advertise your own. Why you spending money? I'm like, no, when you're going out, then I'm against like advertising for people for free. I'm like, let me do. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and get some shirts. So I did up the design, post it, and then people who watch my show start asking me for purchase. So today, I ordered about 5 or 6 shirts for people who just watch the show and they're like, yeah,
Nice.
I want to wear a hat. And I want guys, yes, you can put in your orders for your shirt, anything you want me to print lifestyle on, you can do that. But
Nice.
welcome to the show again. And I see, uh, Takia, she was my guest last week Thursday night or one off. She's here. Not nice listening out of Florida. David Knight is here and he says good stuff. Society Child, let me see if I can get all the comment here. Yes, I have a son praying that by the time he's old enough to start date, the trend will change back to basic. Back to basic. Powerful. And I'm going to find where she go? I need to open up this, but somebody just joined a while ago that commented, and I'm like, okay, so there are people who know or have a kind of thinking, but it seems as if society now tell you that no, you need to be going against everything. But if you're just joining, we're talking about marriages. So I'm going to change it, Lamir. Is it that marriages are not working, or it just seems as if those who it's not working or having to work for are louder than like you who have been married for 15 years?
Yeah, I think when you're secure in who you are, what you're doing, and where you're going, you don't feel the need to stand on the soapbox and yell and scream. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes from insecurity, we're loud. No different than if you're getting two people are getting ready to fight. And let's say you and I are in the same room where we're getting ready to fight.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally be watching from a distance and say, okay, I know this person's getting ready to win because the
Mm-hmm.
person generally trying to be the loudest or jump around and try to pump themselves up. From
Right.
a perception standpoint, it looks like, oh, okay, this person ready. They about it.
Mm-hmm.
They about to
Mm-hmm.
make it happen. But the
Mm-hmm.
person who's secure in their technique, who's secure with their hands, and already know that you a joke and I'm getting ready to take you down soon, that person is generally the most quiet. When it comes to
Mm-hmm.
something like that, they just get ready to go into their craft and not make it a big deal. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, people who are, and I get it from the standpoint, if you've been hurt, you're definitely passionate about how you've been hurt. And if
Right.
somebody makes a comment or you're in a space where the wound is opened up, then that wound opens up, and not only are you seeing the fresh blood and the fresh scar, but you're
Mm-hmm.
also remembering everything that happened, and you're
Mm-hmm.
reliving it all over again. And you're saying all the things that you would have said way back then or what you
Yeah.
should have done. So yeah, you're going to be louder. But
Yeah.
when, like I said earlier, when you've been married for 15 years, I don't have to run around to everybody and say, hey, I've been married for 15 years. Hey, did
Mm-hmm.
you know I've been married for 15 years? You just
Mm-hmm.
walk around as if I've been married for 15 years, and other married people can look at me, ring aside, and say, okay, he's married. By the way he
Mm-hmm.
carries himself, by the way I talk, by where I go, where I don't go, what I don't do, people understand it. So, yeah.
It's funny you said that because I remember years ago, and this was way before I got married.
Okay.
I was passing a place, being for adult entertainment, and I said hi to one of the young ladies, and she said, "You don't call to me." I'm like, "Why you said that?" She's like, "Your type don't deal with people like me." And I'm like, "What you mean by that?" And she's like, "You're a married man." And like I'm saying, this is what like my late 20s. I got married in my 30s. So no, I wasn't married at the time.
Okay.
But she just gave this response to say, "You are that kind of person. So, don't talk to me." And I'm like, I was taken aback because is it that married people supposed to look a different way from unmarried people?
Yeah, I think sometimes that they can, or more so than there's a part of the way you look, but there's also the part of the way that you act. I
Mm,
think that when you come into a union with somebody, and that could be man and wife being married, that can be two guys being good friends, two women's
mm,
being girlfriends and good friends. When you come in with somebody, you generally, that person will add to your life and
right.
add to your perspective and the way you think of things. So me being, married, when I got married, my wife helped to add to, hey, this matches a little bit better with this. You should wear this. You should think about this. Now, it's not as if, I have to wear it or I have to do it, but they just
Right.
give you, a better perspective and a different
Mm-hmm,
way to look at things.
mm-hmm,
So, to that point, I think that, you know, it's just such a negative connotation around being married because
mm-hmm.
so many people, women in particular, have been hurt. So
Yes.
to your point, if you've been hurt by the last 10 men, then the next man that you run into, you'll probably want to be like, as soon as he say, hey, how you doing? You may be the more, hey, do you have a job? How much money you make? Where your
Mm-hmm,
car? Do you live with
mm-hmm.
your mama?
You
And how
know,
many kids you got? Like, let's get all this out the way because
wait.
I've been hurt too many times by
Too
too
many
many
people.
people. I don't want to play this game. I don't want to
Mhm,
go down the road of thinking I like you, getting all giddy and feeling all good
mhm.
for on the fifth
Then
date.
here comes the heartbreak.
Yeah, then you've come off on the fifth date talking about my real name ain't even Lemire. I've been lying to you. You'd be like, what in the world? So I,
Yep.
I get it why,
Yeah.
a woman will not
Would
necessarily
that be
lash out, but go that direction. So,
Mhm, mhm. Let's take this discussion to another place, and I'm going to use a comment on the post I made this morning. And again, don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable, so I'm not going to call your name,
yeah.
but I know the person is watching. They're going to be like, that's my comment. So this person said, a lot of females nowadays want to compare their marriages to other marriages too, which is their biggest downfall. Too licky licky, too licky licky. Instead of sticking to their man and try to build him. And I don't know if you're familiar with that term, licky licky.
No.
You're not. Okay. So licky licky mean what's a way I can put this? Wanting other red eye, you're familiar with that? Like you want somebody else, so
Okay.
I have neighbors, and because keep up with the Jones,
Yeah,
you, yeah,
I
you'll be
got you.
familiar with it, right? So this is what my friend is saying. A lot of people end up comparing, and again, I'm going to mention a conversation I had with somebody. Read this topic, and the person was laying out stuff to me like, um her husband stopped doing the nice things and for example going out on dates and holding hands and don't say I love you anymore and all of these other things. And I shared an experience which I shared it last week Thursday night. I had some guests on, and this lady, she deal with life coaching and all of these things.
Okay.
And I was sharing my experience with 1 year my wife decided that she was going to cook for anniversary
Okay.
because she's a professional chef.
Okay.
She did that back home and stuff. And I've been complaining about going out. For one, I hate to go and knowing that I'm paying my money and I have to sit and wait until they seat you.
Sure.
So that's just a turn off.
Yeah.
And then the food, it just does not taste as good as how my wife cook. The simplest thing, she's like, we have this thing called it's mackerel in the tin,
Okay.
and she cooks up some mackerel and it tastes better than everybody else. I don't know if it's because my wife, so I just tell myself it's better. And it's not out of force. She doesn't even watch my show, so I'm not saying this to to make sure I get to sleep tonight. But that's not the case. But what the life coach was saying on the show, she's like, guys, you notice that when Damien starts sharing that, his pitch actually raised,
Hmm.
and she was identifying some things which like that didn't really, but she was saying I felt so I actually felt the feeling I got from that was
Hmm.
very special.
Hmm.
So I'm saying all of that to say, just like the person commented and say, isn't it a bad thing if married people try to keep up with the Jones?
So that's a great question. I think a portion of that goes back to being secure.
Mm-hmm.
So, from this standpoint, it's not bad to look at another relationship to say, I like what you're doing that's good. I
Mm-hmm.
would like to try to incorporate some of that into our union, our relationship, or our conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
look at the bad. You don't necessarily have to bring up the bad, talk about the bad, but just kind of discard it. If nothing else, we can have a conversation about that bad so that we
Mm-hmm.
can not go down that road ourselves. So we can maybe speak life into someone else's situation who's
Mm-hmm.
gone through things like that to help them along.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that we don't hold as dear as we should is being able to help other people along in life. So it's one thing for me to be married, but if I'm married and I'm enjoying marriage and I'm not telling other people how I enjoy marriage, then I'm failing people who are either newly in marriage, who are
Mm-hmm.
rocky in marriage, who are thinking about marriage. Somebody's got to be able to spread some joy and some
Yes.
cheer and show positivity. So
Mm-hmm.
it's good to look at some little things, but don't look at it and think that you have to do that or it
Mm-hmm.
should be like that. But it's good to incorporate some other things because you never know what someone else's perspective is or their thoughts or
Right.
how they do things until you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we were in a marriage couples gathering. We're friends and we're building on positivity. And one of the couples was mentioning how the husband has his own account, the wife has her own account, and then they
Mm-hmm.
have an account that they share together. And
Mm-hmm.
I noticed when that comment went forward, there were a couple women that said, "Huh," almost as if I never thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
And not thought about it from a negative standpoint, like this is my money, this is your money, but just a
Right.
different way to look at it. And so
Mm-hmm.
until that comment came forward, that couple probably went on with just having one account that they just shared.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming part of the reason why some women said, "Huh," is because maybe they thought about some of the challenges they've had in the account where it's been
Mm-hmm.
overdrawn, or you went out and
Mm-hmm.
spent this and we really
Right.
couldn't. Now we're tight. But if you had your own account, then you could have spent and there wouldn't have been any issue. And I would have had mine. So again, taking some of the good to incorporate it potentially into what you're doing, not necessarily it's got to be like this. We're comparing,
Mm-hmm.
but just taking the good for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I agree with you. Hey, Katie, welcome to the show. Katie says some people actually think communication is the key to a strong marriage, but I honestly feel like comprehension is, because C/E can communicate all they want but still get misunderstood. Most importantly, I think getting married, marriage counseling need to be done before and after marriage to keep them in the right frame of mind.
Yeah, love it, love it. So
Thank you, Katie.
yeah. So I think that comprehension is definitely it. I often say, and one of the things that I often speak about when I do some public speaking is that there
Mhm,
are three keys in life. And it doesn't matter where you are. You could be in Jamaica, you could be United States, you could be in a big business, small business, inspiring, whatever. But three
mhm,
things will keep you in life, and that is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And
mm.
understanding is crucial, even to a point where I'm going to kind of go on a tangent here for a quick second, but
Oh, go ahead.
you see what I
Go ahead.
mean. I
Go
think
ahead.
understanding is so crucial to it. Even bothers me where I'll see different people who will post, well, he and she said this, and that's not how you spell that word, and their language and their pronunciation. Now, keep in mind, if you're an educator, if you're in that arena, if you're teaching, I understand why you want to teach them the proper way to do
Mhm,
things, but it's really all about understanding. So while
mhm,
I may not have spelled there, and there correctly, Do you understand what I'm saying?
Differences. Mm-hmm.
Because this country is made up of so many different nationalities. So
Mm-hmm.
you're from Jamaica, so you may say a whole sentence, and I may only pick up three or four different things that you said in the sentence, but do I
Mm-hmm.
understand what you're saying?
There
So,
you go.
to her point, yeah, we can be communicating and talking all day long. Hey, don't forget to do this, and you don't forget to do. Did you remember this? Yeah, I remember that. But if nobody's understanding, then yes, you just have free conversation, which is wonderful. But you
Right.
have to have that understanding. That is most important because
Mhm.
otherwise, you'll find a lot of guys will be getting in trouble because I heard you, but I didn't really understand you, and vice
Right.
versa.
Right. 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 Anyway, and just before coming down a while ago, my wife was telling me something. I was rushing to come set up. And she mentioned James Road and she mentioned Speedway. And I was there making preparation to leave. But I'm like, let's just get to it. And she said, you know what I'm talking about? Are you just saying yes? I'm like, busted! Because
Right,
I'm
right,
like,
right.
it's a giant eagle, right? There's a giant eagle. And she's like, no, not giant. I said James Road. So that is so true. She was communicating, but I was just wanting to get out the room so I
Right,
can make sure I can start the show early. So
right.
that's very, very important.
Yeah, man.
But let me read some more comments before we move on. I know, right? It takes time. Hold on, let me back up here. Society Child says, girl, I totally agree with you. Some people talk about communication and they never communicate. It's like they want you to read their minds. And I have a male viewer who always complain about females just expecting men to understand, but that's a different show. Not tonight. And Kathy was responding and say, yes, I know there. Nikki says some females are more drawn up prenup now before marriage, knowing it won't last. Ooh. Ooh. All right, but before we go there,
Right.
it's what time now? 23 minutes going up to the top of the hour, which is 10 my time. And remember the show ends at 10. Guys, I'm not using my phone for Instagram tonight. So if you want to chime in the conversation, you can call me via your messenger, or I'm going to share my number. You can call that number too, or even use WhatsApp if you want to weigh in on the discussion. All right, a serious part which I was raised in the church, which I think need to take some blame for certain things. We never hear the serious part of relationship and the marriage, which I think this is what happened. And I said this to somebody today. Marriage, the vow said it. It's not supposed to be something that you don't feel like it today and you decided, okay, I want a divorce. Or that is it. As the person said earlier, as they slip. There's no as they slip you slide in marriage. Is okay, something wrong, fix it.
Right.
And somebody commented to on the thing and say the reason why, answering the question, the reason why those relationships back then, and they're working now, but just in context, is because people believe in fixing things back then. And I was talking to one of my brethren yesterday about this, where you remember, as small as the radio was, you could go in it and remove a part. That's not the case now. You can have 100 and whatever size television and something go bad, you have to change the whole board.
Yeah.
It's not, or just get rid of it because maybe it's even cheaper to replace it than fix it. So talk to us. Some of those things that people would say, no, I can't go through this, or maybe I should ask the question. Is it that marriage is a better rose?
It's a challenge when you're taking two different perspectives, two different backgrounds, and you're putting them together. There is patience that is necessary. I think that to your first portion, that is crucial for me because, as I mentioned earlier about universes and the sun being the center of it and everything revolving around it, the center of everything that I do is God.
Mm-hmm.
And so I live my life according to his statutes and his precepts. Now, I
Right.
didn't say the church, but I said
Mhm.
God
Yes, it
and
is.
how he speaks to me and how he speaks through my wife and things of that nature. So I
Mm-hmm.
take it very seriously the fact that I stood before the Almighty God and I said unto him, I said, this woman that I believe that you put in my life, I'm going to love her, I'm going to stay by her, and she's going to be with me to death do us part. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
counting on you to honor this and to seal this and sanctify this, and that's what I'm going to go with. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't say that to God on Monday, and then Monday next year say, God, I changed my mind, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean any of it, I take it all back. I know I said I do, but now I don't. So I take that very seriously in those vows. I didn't just repeat them because the pastor said repeat them. I said them and I meant them. I like to tell my wife every now and then, I say, I'm not play married. Like, I'm married for real. Like, I'm
Right.
not, I don't just have a ring on and, prancing around. I mean, I'm actually, truly married. So, I said that to say that it's very serious to me. And I understand why some people don't feel like that, because it can be a challenge and you're not used to working through things, struggling through things. But that struggle is what makes the relationship better. The fact that you can spend time with someone when you don't have a dime and you don't have any clear definition of where life's going to be headed, and I don't know what to provide for you. Like, all I have to give you is my love and my heart. And then that person says, that's enough, that's all I want. And then you come with that person, everything that you guys build, you appreciate it so much more. You can show your children and they'll appreciate it so much more, as opposed to you getting established and you find somebody and then you got to wonder, are you just here because you saw me online, or because you saw that I hit the lottery? I don't know, all these different things. So I think that it's crucial, to the earlier question, to get counseling in your marriage, especially early on, because I think those first 5 years are crucial. You got to keep people out of your relationship. That's one of the hardest things for women to do, because they tend to have so many girlfriends. And they
Girlfriends,
talk to
right?
their girlfriends about everything. You
Everything.
can't talk to your girlfriends about what's going on in your house. Sometimes you can't even talk to your mama about what's going on in your house. You need to talk to that man who's in your house. And
Exactly.
vice versa. Men, you cannot talk to any women, because they will take every conversation, and they sometimes they could be slick and be plotting and doing all these damn things, and we just so dumbfounded half the time. We just think,
Yeah.
oh, she just be listening. She a good listener. No,
Yeah.
no, she's actually trying to break up your marriage. We so dumb half the time. So I think it's crucial that you stay together, you communicate. As men, we got to be vulnerable. I know we tough and we the head of the household, but sometimes you just got to be like, baby, I don't know. I don't have any answers. Let's figure it out together. I don't know. And the wife, I think, will appreciate you and respect you more, as
Right.
opposed to you trying to be like, oh, I got it. And then get around the corner and be like, I don't got it. What we gonna do?
Yeah, what we're gonna do now?
So yeah.
Yeah. Let me try to get some more comments in here. And thanks, guys, for chiming in. Remember, you can. Oh, I said I was going to put up the number, right, and I didn't. I got carried away. So if you want to chime in, go ahead and comment. And I feel like I'm neglecting my YouTube viewers. So I'm going to try to go over there in a minute. But if you're watching, and even if it's not your first time, or if it's your first time, you can weigh in, keep commenting, or you can call me 614-373-7350, and you should be seeing that scrolling at the top portion of your screen. And I was going to read a comment and I end up clicking on something here. So what am I going to do now? Let me do this, and it's going to slip. Oh, I forgot I have my phone in my hand that I can always go to. So yes, you can call the number 614-373-7350, or you can just comment if you want to comment via WhatsApp or anything. So let me get some of the comments here. Which one? Our Olive said, and marriage goes through stages too. So that's why it mustn't and actually shouldn't be entered in lightly.
Yeah, man.
How dangerous is it, Lamir, for people to just say, oh, this is the love of my life, we're going to get married, and just run off into it?
You have to go through those stages, as you mentioned. And your stages can be different, but I think it's very important that you spend time getting to know someone well before you get engaged, and certainly well before you get married. I know that people have found folks online, and that can be dangerous. I mean, granted,
Run off to Vegas.
yeah, man. And times have changed, so I can't tell you, being so married so long, I can't tell you what's the best way to do it. Or
Right.
do you go to church and find them? Do you go to the mall? Do you go to the club? I can't tell you the answer. But I know that you need to spend enough time, and that enough can be 6 months, it can be a year plus, just learning who that person is. I mean, because when you get married, sometimes, at least in my case, we got married in 2005, and our daughter came in 2006, and our son came in 2007. So we don't have time to be figuring out, what's your favorite color, what you're allergic to, what you like to eat, because we got 2 kids in diapers now who need
Right.
all of our attention. So I should have figured all that stuff out way back when.
Right.
Before I
So that was That was on the job training.
Right, right. So before I can bring home
No
some,
orientation.
right,
On the job training.
right. So before I bring home dinner and be like, hey, I got dinner, and she'd be like, I'm allergic to that. I don't like that. I'd be like,
Mm,
oh, okay. I should have
mm,
figured that out while we were dating. So you
yeah.
definitely need to spend enough time with that because once you get married, you have to remember you're bringing in somebody's DNA. And
Mm-hmm,
they're made up of half their mother, half their
mm-hmm,
father, who
mm-hmm,
come from two different worlds. So
mm-hmm.
you bring in a whole new perspective. That's not how I wash clothes. That's not
Right.
how I clean. That's not how I fold. There's all these different things that you're trying to incorporate into how things are going to be for you guys. You have to spend time getting to know each other, likes, dislikes, quirks, and then when you do finally get to the point where you get married, you marry this person with all of those things, not in spite of. It's not
Mm,
as if, oh, I don't like this about you, but I'm gonna marry you anyway. It's
mm-hmm,
no like I love you and I can deal with this. I can tolerate that because that's just you. You're not.
mm-hmm.
I don't think you're trying to be this way. You are who you are. My
Right.
way's not best. Your way's not wrong. We're just
Mm-hmm.
going to bring these things together. We'll
Yes, sir.
communicate. We'll talk about how to make these things best for us going forward.
Hmm. I like that. Society Child says, I have a question. How can two persons being married, living together for 17 years, and after that 17 years, they realize they're not compatible? How can that be?
I mean, there's so many parts to it. And I mean, it's a general question, so I'll try to give a general answer. And the reason why I
Hmm.
say I try to give a general answer because there can be idolatry, there could be physical abuse, there could be so many different things that are going into that. But sometimes in marriage, and you touched on this earlier, sometimes in marriage you can get very comfortable.
Hmm.
And when I say you touched on this earlier, is you talked about, bringing home things for your wife and doing things for your wife. Sometimes when you've been with someone for so long, you're just used to, I don't bring flowers anymore. I don't
Right.
do this anymore because, I mean, the challenge sometimes is it's difficult. How do you surprise somebody who you've been married with for 15 years?
Right.
And I've been doing, birthdays for 15 years. I've been doing anniversaries for 15 years.
Anniversary.
You
Right.
you know me better than I know myself in some
Right.
aspects. Every time I try to, okay, I'm gonna do this, and she'll
Right.
love this. I mean, she knew that was coming. She saw it. She saw the
Hmm.
withdrawal in the bank account, so she knew the
Yep.
flowers was coming. Like I can't surprise you, so I'm just
Hmm.
like, what do I do? So
Right.
so I get it, but you know, again, sometimes people just feel like, I've gotten so used to you doing you, me doing me, that it's just easier for us just to kind of keep doing you and doing me in different places. Maybe
Hmm.
we haven't been trying for quite a while. We
Hmm.
both come to a consensus that we just better off apart. I mean, you sleeping in one room, I'm sleeping in the other room.
Hmm.
Or maybe we've been just doing this for the sake of the kids. So now the
Hmm.
kids are out the house. We don't feel like we've got to keep the family together anymore. They're
Hmm.
gone off to college. They're grown. Now we can tell the whole family, what some have been contemplating for a while. It's
Hmm.
over. I get it. I don't justify it. Clearly,
Right.
that's not my road. But
Hmm.
in the times that we live in, I can understand how someone can just kind of get tired. Some people are who love folks but are not in love anymore.
Hmm.
When, and I say this, and then I'll probably stop. Is I think that when you're talking about marriage, you've got to have something more at the center of your marriage than love. And
Mm.
I know that's controversial, but here's why I say that.
I was about to ask you that, so
Well,
go
yeah,
right.
let me
Go there.
break
Go
it
there.
down. It's because most people who are married and obviously love, their spouse. That's
Hmm.
probably not the first time they've been in love.
Hmm.
You've probably loved somebody in high school.
I
Probably,
spoke about this a couple of nights ago.
yeah,
Plan out weddings.
yeah,
I've done it as a teenager.
yeah,
Like every girlfriend, oh, we're gonna be in white picket fence and da
yeah,
da da da. And yeah,
yeah.
go ahead, go
So,
right ahead, brother.
so if you love someone, in your early adulthood, if you love someone in college, maybe you love someone in high school and middle school. Love
Mhm.
is not the main thing at the center of it. Now, it's a huge part of it, but if
Mhm.
love is the center of it, then you would have met or fallen in love and married that first person that you fell in love
Yeah,
with. So,
exactly.
yes, love is a huge, crucial part of it. Do not get me wrong. But like I
Mhm.
said in my life, God is the center of it. And
Mhm.
because God is the center of it, and I love God first, and I love God foremost, and my wife does the same,
Mhm.
then if my wife decides that she doesn't want to be with me anymore, Lord forbid something happened to my wife, my wife gets killed, she's physically not the same or whatever have you,
Mhm.
yes, I'll be hurt, I'll be crushed, but I can recover quicker because God is the center of everything.
Mm.
Now, if my wife is my everything, she's my all in all, then if
And
she
then she leaves.
and then if she leaves, then you're crushed and you can never recover. You've got nothing to grab a hold on to pull yourself
Mhm.
back up because she
Mhm.
was everything that I grabbed a hold on. Now
Mhm.
she
Mhm.
left. But if God is on like my handrail or if he's my table, then I can
Mhm.
always prop my arm up on God.
Yep.
And it may take me a little while. I got to get a little strength
Get
in
back
my
up.
legs, but eventually I'll be able to stand. So that's
Mhm.
why I say love is a huge part of it. But
Mhm.
God, to me, has got to be the center of it. That way you can always recover, whether he, she is there mentally, physically, or not.
What I would add to that 17 years thing, I think, and I always talk about this, when you meet somebody, you normally meet the representative.
Okay?
And I always liken it to like a business. If I'm representing your business, I'm going to be on my best. Maybe I'm doing it, which this is really what it is, guys. I work for Lemire. I'm going to do it your way.
Yeah,
Maybe it's not my way, but you already established that this is all you want.
right,
So you send me to an assignment, I'm going to do it that way.
right.
So that is what when we meet somebody, and the person, the individual that decides when they're going to show their true color.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you can have somebody together, married for 20 years, and you still don't know the true
Yeah,
person.
man.
You know, I've heard of cases where women who wear makeup, they get up before their husband every morning, put it on. I remember
Mm.
this was like 20 years ago. This lady, they were featuring her on TV, and she said her husband doesn't know what she looked like without makeup.
Mm.
Because she makes sure every morning she get up, and if he's not asleep, she will not remove the makeup. So he has no idea, and that ties into what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say. But I believe, like a 15-year marriage or a 20-year marriage or whatever, somebody was just going along with it,
Mm.
maybe uncomfortable, but just say, for whatever reason, I'm just going to stick. Because the longer you're together is the more you should be getting to learn or know the
Yeah,
person.
man.
And like you say, at that point now, like, you know what they like, what tick them off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know what tick off my wife. She knows what ticks me off. So if she really wants to get under my skin, she knows exactly what to do.
Yeah, man.
And if she wants to cheer me up, she knows exactly. So after 10 years, 15 years, what could be such a big problem for you to say, you know what? This is not worth it. Like you say, you mentioned the kids, maybe a part of it. Maybe you want to hold up to a family settings. And with church, I'm always going to go there. That is another problem where, because my father is the pastor, how can I do this? And it's going to bring down shame. In fact, there's a denomination in Jamaica where if a pastor is, so for example, you're the pastor and your daughter get pregnant out of wedlock,
Okay.
they remove your pastoral whatever.
Mm.
And I'm like, how can you hold me responsible for another individual's decision
Mm.
or mistake or whatever it is?
Yeah, man.
You know, but that denomination is so great. Um, let me read some more comments here. I hope we answer your question. Society child. Katik says marriage can be what you want it to be, but you also need to be careful on what grounds you're getting married. Not every
Mm.
marriage is the same. Some SMT, I'm not sure what that is, Katie. The seriousness of one's marriage can be a unimportant part of the other marriage. If you want your marriage size, all talking to your friends, or that should be sees, all talking to your friends and family. And you mentioned that Lemire earlier, that you
Mm-hmm.
have certain things in marriage that don't tell that to nobody.
Yeah, man.
The only person you should be telling it to is the person that you're in it with.
Right.
Unless you need professional help and you go get a counselor or something like that. But I've seen it where, you know, people, and I was listening to a radio show a couple of years ago, and the host was saying, listen, guys, and she wasn't actually justifying abuse. But she's like, listen, once you're in a relationship, there are going to be times when somebody just rubs somebody wrong or heated
Sure.
moment or thing. And she's like, she went as far as even being physical. She said, listen, okay, a girl, you have your man, your boyfriend, whatever, and you got to control, he smack you, whatever, and you go and tell your father. You think when you meet for Thanksgiving or whatever, your dad, even when you have forgiven him, you think your dad is not going to remember that this guy actually put his hand on my
Yeah,
daughter.
man. Mm-hmm.
And that is going to stay forever. That's
Mm-hmm.
not going nowhere. So she
Right.
was saying, to say, just like you said before, they have some things that you just need to work it out with the person you're with. And a lot of people are guilty of that, where they go and talk to other people about their marriage. So thank you again for underscoring that, Kathy. Hey, Alicia, welcome to the show. One more comment here from Hey Nathan, welcome. Drayton, welcome. Olive says, at the end of the day, you've into it to win it. At times, You sure you want to throw it, throw in the towel?
Mm.
Sorry, guys, I'm using my phone, so the towel. But that's where the for better or worse comes in. But there are people now who they omit that part of it, Lamir, where they take out all that which I'm like, if I was gonna get married to somebody and they don't want to include that part of it, to me I would see those as red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't want to if you don't want to say I'm going to be with you regardless, that's what it means. And it doesn't really mean for poorer you're going to stay with the person for poorer. To me, and maybe you can shed more light on it, Lemire, it means saying it is saying to the person you're making a vow to say, I'm going to be there
Mm-hmm.
regardless of whatever happens.
Right. Yeah, man. Because not only is it a marriage, but it's a lifestyle that you're building with someone.
Hmm.
So, for example, all my friends know that I don't cook. I don't know how to cook. I don't have any
Hmm.
desire to cook. It's the most boring thing I can think to do with my time. So I've built a lifestyle with my wife that, she takes care of the meals. So
Right.
let's say if for some reason, we decide, I'm not even going to speak and say that we would be not be married, but let's say she's in another city on business, I'm in another city, and what I'm supposed to eat. I
Hmm.
built a lifestyle with my wife where we are comfortable in our home and within our
Hmm.
situations and our finances because we built this all together. So
Together.
all I know how to do is stuff with her and together. I don't know
Hmm.
how to not be with her and to
Hmm.
not think as she would think when according to a situation. I don't know how to do those things. So
Hmm.
it's one thing just to say I don't want to be with someone else anymore and now you're over here and they're over here, but now what do I do every day?
Right.
What I'm used to doing with you or going with you and having those conversations with you. Now I'm just sitting in an empty room and I'm just like,
Hmm.
what am I supposed to
Hmm.
talk about? Who am I supposed to talk to? Where I'm
Right.
supposed to. We used to go to movies. We go on date night. Now we're not together. What do I stop going to the movies? Do I go by myself? Like how I'm supposed to live now? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what matches anymore. My wife tells me
Hmm.
what shoes match best with my outfit. Now for
Hmm.
some reason I don't know what matches anymore. I'm just like I'm
Right.
lost. So
Right. 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 You touched some stuff there, and I want to, just for the discussion purpose, do you see it more challenging when two successful people try to get married and get together than two who, like your experience, say from day one, we started out on nothing and we built together?
I think that you've got to give everyone their room to shine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important, like we talked about earlier, for the understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So, if there's an understanding, if I want to be a photographer, and let's say I'll make up something, my wife wants to do a food truck, then for the sake of our household, everyone's got to have time to shine. She may look at it and say, you've been doing photography for 20 years. You've gotten
Mm-hmm.
your business to where it is. You've got photographers in different cities, different states. And then I got to look at it and say, you're right. I have been shining. I have been doing my thing. Whether it's where I want it to be, whether it's where I think it needs to be, I've had the opportunity. I've had the space and the platform, and you gave me room to do and get it to where I want it to be. Now, let me turn my attention towards my wife. Let me
Mm-hmm.
give her some time. And you'll see that a lot in celebs or whatever have you, where the one you would think, okay, the husband's making all the money or the wife is the great actress and does all this, but then their
Mm-hmm.
spouse seems like out of the blue now they want to start doing something. Now they got a cooking show. Now they got because they don't want to just sit around and just be known as your husband or your wife all the time. Like I
Right.
got a life, I got a middle name, I got a social security number, I
Right.
got thoughts, I got ideas, I got
Mm-hmm.
dreams. Let me get out there. So I think it's important that you give everyone their space because when everyone's trying to do the same thing at the same time, someone may feel neglected or slighted because
Mm-hmm.
more attention is being put towards you and not towards me. Give me my time.
Mm-hmm. A wife, well, a separated wife was explaining to me that part of her challenge was she was with her husband for a while. He's successful businessman and all of that. And he had an accountant and all these other people that go with him. And she
Okay.
decided, okay, no, I'm gonna go to school and learn accounting or whatever the case may be, so I can help. That poses a problem because the husband felt threatened. How does this work, or how does it not work when one of the party in the marriage decided, okay, I am going to restructure all of this? Is that a difficult thing or something that you would advise against?
I don't think I don't wouldn't say you should advise against or I would advise against. I think it all is about understanding. So maybe that wife or even the husband, for the sake of the conversation, feels like I don't get a chance to see you much or spend time with you. Or although we've built this together, really you've built this. And I've just
Mm-hmm.
kind of been in the background or tolerated it. I'm trying to find some way where I can find my worth or feel valuable or interject myself into what you're doing so I can see
Mm-hmm.
you more, be more a part of it. So, about the understanding. So, I want to tell you what I'm thinking, why I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, get your thoughts on it. And then once you lay that out, just like anything else in marriage, you come to a conclusion. Okay, well, let's do it. I'm for it. I'll give you your time because I've had my time, and you should be able to compromise on that. Now, anybody who can't compromise, oh no, it's got to be him. Jimmy's my accountant. I don't want you. You're probably hiding something, and that's the,
Mm-hmm.
or you've just gotten so comfortable where you have pushed your wife or pushed your husband on the back burner and don't actually really realize that they can do it and they have the talent and they have the ability, but it's probably more so you're trying to hide something and you don't want
Mm-hmm.
her to see or you don't want him to see, so you're just masking it with, oh well, I like Jim
Somebody
because
else.
Jim's been around forever. Jim knows me well. Well, Jim doesn't know. Jim ain't sleeping in your bed. He don't know
Right.
that you snore at night and that you
Right.
forgot to brush your teeth last night before you went to bed. He don't know you that well. So, but you're probably just hiding something.
But what about the men who, because I'm going to be a demon advocate now. People talk about the devil. I ain't no devil. What about if the man is thinking, because like I said, it was a wife saying that to me. The man is thinking, okay, if I give her all of these autonomy, that is just an easier way for her to just decide that, okay, this is not working, let's divorce. And I'm going to fast forward it because yes, this person end up separating with the man anyways. So what if that, something was telling the man that no, this is how I'm going to protect me, because we know of cases where divorce comes about and the man is left with nothing
Sure. I
because
think
she have kids and
I think you got to go into things with a positive mindset,
mm-hmm.
and not just the mindset, but also standing on the platform of positivity. And here's what I mean. You can go into a marriage and say, yes, I love you, I want to marry you, let's get married, plan it all out. So
Mm-hmm.
verbally, you have a positive mindset. Mentally, you have a positive mindset. But then you say, and right before we tie this knot, or before we get married, I've got these papers that I want you to sign. It's called a prenup.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not standing on positivity. In the back of your mind, you're like, just in
Yep,
case.
that's the case.
So you're not going into it with positivity. Marriage is about
Mm-hmm.
giving your all. It's not about, giving your 99% and then this 1% or this 1% or a half percent over here I'm going to keep to myself or I'm going to
Yeah.
hold. It's about giving it your all. So you
Mm-hmm.
can't go into it defeated because that percentage that you're holding back is maybe that percentage that your spouse needs from you.
Mm-hmm.
Men generally don't communicate their feelings, and that's the percentage that they're holding back from the wife. But that's the actual percentage that the wife needs to see from you,
Need.
because otherwise they think that you don't care, you don't show any
Mm-hmm.
emotion, and so you can't go into it, having these back doors or having
Yeah.
these traps. You got to literally, and then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean you can say you can rest. You should be able to rest and say I gave it my all. And if you look back at it, you probably didn't give it your all when it doesn't work out. Now, there are some one off scenarios where you're talking about someone dies of a sickness, or illness,
Mm-hmm.
adultery, rather, I should say, physical abuse. There's some one off scenarios that,
Yeah.
it's not in every relationship, but by and large, you probably didn't give your all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Lemire, trust me, God, times fly when you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah,
What you want to do with us finally, sir?
So yeah, finally, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I appreciate the topic and the discussion. This
Mm-hmm.
is so important that we, what we call on my podcast is untalk things.
Mm.
Not just talk. Talk is cheap, but we
Okay.
untalk, meaning we discuss. We dive into these
Mm-hmm.
things and we look
Mm-hmm.
at it from the middle of the road. Not try to justify who's right, who's wrong. All men ain't dogs. All women ain't this. You got
Mm-hmm.
to look at it from both sides and understand. I understand why you're saying that. My
Mm-hmm.
wife can come and hit me upside the head with a pillow and say, "Can't believe you did that." And I can't get mad at her because she's upset, but I got to hear what she's saying and understand, oh, I hear
Oh,
what you're
that's
saying and I feel the emotion behind it, which just reiterates, your passion. So I think it's
mm-hmm.
so important that we have these conversations, one to another, a husband to wife, man to woman, and talk. talk and talk some more. It's difficult for men sometimes to talk, but you got to do it. You got to talk. You got to open up to have that understanding. And if more people did that, you would see less and less divorce, less and less people even thinking about it. So thank you.
Where can they follow you and check out your podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast is called the Untalk Podcast. You can find us on a host of different applications, whether it's Anchor, Spotify, Pocket Cast, pretty much any place where you can find podcasting. We have a new episode on the 1st and 15th of every month, but definitely want to find us on Channel 614 on Facebook and LTD Channel 614 on YouTube. You will be blown away by the documentary that we're working on right now, which is called Tamar, which is the story of my life. That's a whole nother story, but it is very passionate. It's inspiring. It's the story of a 12-year-old kid who was the key witness in the state's murder trial. I testified against my dad, who shot and killed my mother when I was 12 years old. Powerful story. You will be blown away by not only the story, but the redemptive piece, which is what you're looking at right now. How even though things go bad and were bad, they don't always have to be. Things can get better, and things will be better.
I love that.
Yeah, man.
Thanks again, sir.
You're
And
welcome. Thank you.
I'm happy you said that no, because I don't know if you saw my expression a while ago.
Yeah, I
but,
saw it.
thanks for sharing,
You're
and
welcome.
enjoy the rest of your night, sir.
Thank you. You do the same. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, bye bye.
All right, bye.
Cool.